Hello, aspirants, and welcome to this power-packed session. I'm Ayushi, and today we are going to absolutely master that one topic from economics that shows up in every single exam. We're talking about national income.
So, do questions on national income leave you feeling a bit confused? You see all these terms like GDP, GNP, NNP, factor cost, and does your head start to spin? Well, it absolutely shouldn't. Today, we're going to simplify all these concepts so much you'll never have a doubt again. I promise.
All right, let's dive right in. The next few minutes are going to be absolutely crucial for you. We're going to cover every single important formula and concept of national income, all from an exam point of view. So I need your full concentration. Let's begin.
You know, to really master any topic, you have to have a strong foundation, right? So, first things first, let's understand what national income actually means and why it's such a big deal.
Okay, in the simplest possible terms, national income is the total money value of all the final goods and services produced by a country's normal residents within a single financial year. That's from April 1st to March 31st. Now pay very close attention to that word final. This is key. It means we don't double count intermediate products, like the tires used to make a car. We only count the value of the finished car.
So why do we even care about this number? Well, national income isn't just a statistic. It's more like an X-ray of the country's economy. It tells us if the economy is healthy, if it's growing, or if it's struggling. This is the exact data the government uses to plan the budget for the upcoming year and to design all its important policies.
All right, now we're getting to the most critical part of this topic. This is where those direct formula-based questions in your exams come from. So you need to understand every single concept here very, very carefully, because this section right here, this is what's going to lock in those marks for you.
First up, the most common term you always hear, GDP, or gross domestic product. The key to understanding GDP is just one word, domestic. Its focus is purely on the geographical boundary. That means whatever is produced within a country's borders in a year, it doesn't matter if it was by an Indian company or a foreign company, it all gets counted in that country's GDP.
Let's move on and see how this builds. Next, we have GNP, or gross national product. Here, the focus shifts away from the boundary and onto the nation's citizens, or its residents. So this is about the income earned by all the residents of a country, no matter where they are in the world. If a resident earned it, whether living at home or abroad, it's all part of the country's GNP.
So what's the connection between the two? Well, think of this next formula as the bridge. And trust me, this is asked again and again in exams. GNP equals GDP plus NFIA. NFIA stands for Net Factor Income from Abroad, which is simply the income earned by residents from other countries minus the income paid out to foreigners.
And this table perfectly illustrates that core difference. Just take a look and lock this concept in your mind forever. Remember, the D in GDP is for domestic, meaning territory. The N in GNP is for national, meaning residents. This simple trick will make sure you never, ever get confused.
Okay, next up, let's figure out the difference between gross and net. It's actually pretty simple. Imagine you buy a brand new machine. After you use it for a year, its value goes down because of wear and tear, right? That reduction in value is exactly what we call depreciation. So, whenever you take the gross value of something and subtract this depreciation, what you're left with is the net value.
And because of that, the formulas are totally straightforward. If you want the net domestic product, or NDP, you just take the GDP and subtract depreciation. And if you want the net national product, or NNP, you take the GNP and, you guessed it, subtract depreciation. The simple rule is net equals gross minus depreciation.
Here's another exam hotspot for you. Factor cost versus market price. Factor cost is the actual cost to produce something, but market price is what we pay for it in a shop. The difference between them comes from government taxes and subsidies. So, the crucial formula is, you take the market price, subtract the indirect taxes like GST, and add back any subsidies to get the original factor cost.
So, we've learned all these concepts, but how is national income actually calculated? Well, there are three main methods to measure it, and you could be asked about their names or their components in the exam.
First, you have the production method, where we add up the value that's added at every stage of production. Second is the income method, where we add up everyone's income, all the salaries, rent, interest, and profits. And third is the expenditure method, where we add up all the final spending in the economy.
Out of these three, the formula for the expenditure method is probably the most important one for your exams. It goes GDP equals C plus I plus G plus X minus M. Here, C is our private consumption, I is business investment, G is government spending, and X minus M is net exports, which is just exports minus imports.
All right, let's take all this theory and see how it applies in the context of the Indian economy. How is our economy divided into sectors, and which one contributes the most?
Now, this chart shows something really interesting. You can clearly see that the biggest slice of India's GDP comes from the tertiary or services sector at about 55%. This is a direct fact that often comes up as a multiple-choice question in exams, so make sure you note it down.
So, the primary sector is about raw materials like agriculture and mining. The secondary sector is manufacturing and construction. The tertiary sector is all about services like banking, IT, and healthcare. And now there are two advanced sectors, quaternary for knowledge-based work like R&D, and quinernary for top-level decision-makers like CEOs and government leaders.
And now we're in our final section. Here, we'll look at some factors that have a real impact on any country's national income. This will really improve your analytical understanding.
You see, a country's income doesn't just depend on its resources. It heavily depends on the skills of its people, which we call human capital, on the amount of investment happening, called capital formation, and on factors like political stability. The better these things are, the faster a country's income will grow.
Okay, it's time for a final memory booster. These 4 points are the absolute essence of this entire topic. Make sure you write these formulas and facts in your short notes. They're perfect for a quick revision right before the exam. Do not forget these.
Now that you've understood all the different sectors, I have a thought-provoking question for you. In your opinion, for India to become an economic superpower in the next decade, which sector should it focus on the most? I'd love to hear what you think, so please share your ideas in the comments. If you found this explainer helpful, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And let me know in the comments if there's a specific